Hello loves and welcome to today's video. I am finally getting a handle on being behind on my TBR from February, so here is the stack that I plan to read in the month of April. First is a book that someone lent me and therefore I will read, and that is Shut Up You're Pretty by Tea Mutanji. This is a series of short stories about femininity and the struggle of womanhood, from what I understand. It seems fairly short and it was lent to me and recommended, so I'm going to be reading this. The next book is a continuing series, and that's Death Before Wicket by Carrie Greenwood. This is the next Franny Fisher Mysteries book, and I think this one might be the one that decides whether or not I continue this series. These are some mysteries set in 1920s Australia, and the last couple have had some kind of concerning politics, which, being set in the 1920s, you have to try and give a little bit of grace, but it was just too much that made me uncomfortable, so I'm giving it one last shot. If this manages to redeem the series for me, then I'll keep going, but if I don't enjoy this one or the politics are questionable again, I'm probably gonna give up on it after this. Next is We'll Destroy the Galaxy for Cash by Yahtzee Croshaw. This is the sequel to We'll Save the Galaxy for Food. In the first one, the main character is paid a lot of money to pretend to be this author who stole a bunch of other pilots' stories and published them as his own, and goes on a misadventure of mistaken identity. I enjoyed it. It wasn't going to be one of my favorite books of the year, but I did enjoy the story and the characters, so I'm looking forward to see where we go with this story from here in the sequel, so going to read that. And next, a series that has been on my back burner for a while, but I'm going to return to, The Six Tudor Queens, which next for me is Anne Boleyn, A Queen's Obsession. This is by Alison Weir. These books are a historical fictionized retelling of the lives of each of Henry VIII's 6 wives. I am seeing the musical 6 at the end of May, so I'm going to try to finish this series before then, but they are a little chunky, so we'll see if I can get through it. I did really enjoy the first one, which was about Catherine of Aragon, and there's enough courtly drama to keep me intrigued with this series, so I'm hoping that the second one I enjoy as well. And that's on the TBR. And then, since I'm going on vacation, I did have a stack of vacation reads that I'm hoping to get read while I am on the beach, soaking in the sun. The first is The Plumed Serpent by D.H. Lawrence. This is, I think, an eldritch horror kind of story about the Quetzalcoatl. This is what one of our missions in my Delta Green game was based on, so I wanted to read it and figured it's either Aztec or Mayan, so it'd be a good feel to read on a beach. Next is The Siren by Catherine St. John. I believe this is a thriller about some movie actresses who are on an island for a movie, and then a hurricane comes, they get trapped on the island, and then there's drama. I don't know much about this one, honestly. I just thought the cover looked really cool and it looked beachy, so I decided that it would be a good fit for the trip. And then, even more in the thriller direction based on islands, is Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane. I don't know much about the plot of this one either, but from what I can see, it has something to do with the Cold War and the CIA, and there's a movie based on it with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I like to read books before I watch movies, and that movie is on the list of movies that I'm supposed to watch at some point in my life. All that to say, Shutter Island also on my TBR for April. And if you watched my TBR scavenger hunt video, another book from my TBR on April is going to be The Green Mile by Stephen King. I had to let my shelves decide what one of my beach reads was going to be, and I needed to read something by someone named Stephen. If you haven't watched the video, recommend checking it out. It was chaotic, and I'm gonna try and read The Green Mile by Stephen King. I have the audiobook for it for the plane, and I'm hoping that turns out to be good. That one appears to be a man who has a bit of a childlike mind, is sentenced to death, and I guess something happens in the penitentiary. the descriptions on these Libby is not helping me a lot with a lot of these books today. But it's Stephen King. Green Mile is one of the classics as far as I know, so I'm looking forward to reading that. And then the final book that is on my TBR for April and is the only physical book that I'm taking with me on vacation, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This is a labyrinthian experience of a book. It is, from what I have heard from other people, quite the experience to read. There's pages that are backwards. There's pages that spiral off. I am really looking forward to having a week set aside to just experience this. And I'm hoping that I can get through it on my vacation, but we'll have to see. It is a challenging read from everything I've seen, but I am very much looking forward to this experience. So this is the final book on my TBR for April. If you've read any of these books that I'm planning to read this month, let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below, or let me know what the books on your April TBR are. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and have a great day. Manages to